Good morning. I'm running a little bit late. I apologize, but we are going to get started here shortly. Let me update a few things. I am super stoked and excited. Today is the last day of the Greek lecture series, which is exciting. So let's see, 1 John 5. We'll be translating 1 John 5, and I'm going to introduce us to textual criticism. So good stuff there. Okay, just saved. Perfect. Let's get going, huh? It's been a productive day already. My dog woke me up. Had to go potty. Why? Because he ate twice as much food yesterday as he's supposed to. He stole his brother's food. He also snacked on some dried out chocolate truffles, and by that I mean poop. You would think he's starving, when in fact he's not. Dude's just a foodie. Anyways, he woke me up because he had to poop. As you can imagine, all that food's got to go somewhere, right? TMI. Sorry, I'll be quiet. So, yeah, good times. Got some sort of anomaly. Let me turn this monitor off. There we go. Anomaly resolved. All right, let's dive into the 27th and final Greek lecture. First John 5. Cool. So we're going to cover textual criticism today, which is the art, some people might even say the scientific method of determining what the original text is. Now, there's a couple of helpful reference articles that I've used. One's a book, one is a chapter. So Michael Holmes wrote the chapter in the book Introducing New Testament Interpretation. He wrote the chapter New Testament Textual Criticism. It's chapter 2. Very helpful stuff. I guess you could say the standard, at least for English language studies of New Testament textual criticism, is Bruce Metzger's and Bart Ehrman's The Text of the New Testament. Okay, it's Transmission, Corruption, and Restoration. When I used it, it was in the 4th edition, published in 2005. I don't know if they've come out with a more current edition since then. But these are two really helpful go-to resources to dive into textual criticism. I worked for a professor, Peter Rogers, out of Fuller Seminary, Sacramento, which is now, I think it's closed now. And Peter was one of the top textual critics around, and he used to say that he got bit by the bug, as it were. He didn't intend to get into textual criticism, but once he got bit by it, it was just too much fun. He couldn't get away from it. So be careful. You might get bit by the bug too. Now, why? Why do we even need to do textual criticism? Well, think about this. The original manuscripts are called autographs. Guess how many we have? That's right. We don't have any. We have 0. None of the original manuscripts are intact, in full or in part. All we have are copies, and those copies do not all match. There is variation. So the question is, what was the original text? That is the pursuit That is the task of the textual critic. The textual critic examines the variations and attempts to determine what was the original text. Now, the core premise that defines how the textual critic analyzes those variations, what we call the textual witnesses. They determined that the original text would be the variant that best explains and accounts for all the evidence. That is the fundamental test. It's the variant that best explains and accounts for all the evidence. And that variant is the one to be original. Now, sometimes you'll see three unsatisfactory generalities that are assumed to determine the original text, but they are not universally true, and therefore you have to take them with a grain of salt. The first generality is, the shorter variant is generally original. Well, sometimes that's true and sometimes it's not. There are instances of both. There are instances of the textual editing to go from shorter to longer and from longer to shorter. So it's not universally true. Just because there's a shorter variant doesn't mean it's original. You might hear, the more difficult variant is generally original. Look, there are instances where the simpler reading is original. So just because it's more difficult doesn't mean it's original. And there's a third one. The variant from the oldest and most widespread manuscripts is generally original. Just because it's old, just because it's widespread, does not mean it's original. Okay? All three of these are making assumptions, and I might say hasty generalizations. What we need to do is keep them in check by asking ourselves which variant best explains the presence of the others. That's the one that's likely to be original. Okay? We're going to learn a bunch of ideas about textual criticism now. And what's a process you could use to do some textual criticism? I'm not going to go into heavy detail here. That's why there's books out there for this. But I'm introducing the concept to you, okay? So, again, this is the fundamental premise of the textual critic. And this is what you need to lock away here in your skull. The variant most likely to be original is the one which best accounts for the existence of the others. That is the original. Sometimes that means the shorter variant. Sometimes that means the longer variant. Sometimes that means the more difficult variant. Sometimes that means it's the simpler variant. Sometimes it means it's the most widespread variant. Sometimes it means it's the more narrow variant. But it's whatever variant accounts the existence of the others. That's what we're trying to get at. Now, how do we do that? There's 4 steps. First, you organize the data. There's 2 sources. We're going to need them, so let me grab them. Okay. You have UBS. This is UBS 4, it's now out of date. I think they're on UBS 5 maybe. UBS, Nestle-Aland. So UBS contains a different textual apparatus than Nestle-Aland. Nestle-Aland is considered to be the more academic, scholarly textual apparatus. And by that, each textual variant listed in the apparatus has a more full account of all of the textual witnesses. Okay? UBS has more variants, but does not give as full an account for each variant of all the textual witnesses. Nestle-Aland doesn't have as many variants. So what do you have here? You have less variants with more witnesses listed. You have more variants with less witnesses listed. That's the difference between the two. You need both. Okay? So what you can do is chart them out, put them on a spreadsheet, write them out, whatever you want to do. And you can capture the textual relationships between Alexandrian, Western, and Byzantine, and we'll get into what those are later. Now, I do want to point out there is a commentary that goes along with UBS, also by Bruce Metzger. Remember the book I pointed out to you earlier by Bruce Metzger and Bart Ehrman? Well, there's a textual commentary on the Greek New Testament by Bruce Metzger, and he provides insight on why UBS chose the variants and all that stuff. So it's interesting. You get some scholarly insight on a lot of variants here. So this might be worth your while as well. So the first step is organize the data. Put it together, look at the variants, look at what UBS has, look at what Nestle-Aland has. Sometimes they both have the same thing, sometimes they don't. And then the next step is to evaluate external evidence. Things like the relative date of the witnesses. You'll have to look them up. It'll probably be impossible to memorize them all. So looking them up is going to be important. You're going to need a good reference tool. You'll want to look at not just the date, but also the geographic distribution of the witnesses. Okay, Alexandrian, Western, Byzantine. Generally, the broader distribution of a variant is often original, but again, that's an assumption. So the core is which variant best accounts for the existence of the others. Okay, so be careful with some of these generalizations. But the other thing to consider is the genealogical relationships between the manuscripts, where you get combinations of Alexandrian and Byzantine and Western, so on and so forth. So we'll look at those as well. As far as genealogical relationships between the manuscripts, you've got 3 different categories. We've talked about them already: Alexandrian, Western, and Byzantine. So Alexandrian examples, there are 2 sets, primary and secondary. Primary would be like Papyrus 45. Normally the P45, the 45 is in superscript, but I didn't do that in this presentation. So sometimes you'll have parts of texts that will be considered Alexandrian or Western in full or in part. Here you can see Sinaiticus, the Aleph there, Codex Sinaiticus, is primary Alexandrian with the exclusion of John 1:1 through 8:38. That's Western, and you'll see that on the next slide. That's Origen, early church fathers. So yeah, you've got a lot of different witnesses here, but then you've got secondary Alexandrian. Now, I don't remember exactly what the difference is between primary and secondary. You'll need to look that up in Metzger and Ehrman. But this just goes to show you all the different resources that are in the Alexandrian camp. And here's some more. You've got Acts, you've got the Pauline epistles, Catholic epistles, Revelation. It shows you by book or by corpus which witnesses fall into the Alexandrian category. Okay? And so when you're mapping it out, you want to group them together by geographical location. Western, for Gospels, you've got Sinaiticus. Codex Sinaiticus is John 1:1 through 8:38. Otherwise, Sinaiticus is Alexandrian. Then you got D, I forget what D is. What is that? Codex Cantabrigiensis, I think. I don't remember the name of W. But yeah, you could see a lot of the early Greek and Latin fathers. Western for Gospels. Acts, you've got several papyrus. You got the Pauline epistles. I don't remember what DP, EP, FP, GPR. You'd have to look that up. The point is, you need to know where to find your information. For the most part, you're going to find it in Metzger Ehrman. You'll also find it in the indices and appendixes for USB and Nestle Aland. And then, of course, you've always got the textual commentary. But you could also find it in regular commentaries. So some of them are better than others at doing textual critical analysis. But sometimes you'll find good information there too. Then there's the Byzantine. These are probably the less favorable of all the witnesses when they're taken on their own. You've got several for the Gospels. You got several for Acts and Epistles and Revelation. So what you do is, as far as external evidence is concerned, you look at the dates, you look at the genealogical relationships between the manuscripts. Then you look at the quality, the relationship between them. When you have Alexandrian and Western together, those are generally superior variants. Generally, not always. When you have Alexandrian and Byzantine together, those are good. Those are good. When you have Western and Byzantine, they're typically just not going to be original, period. And then when you have Western and, quote, other, those are often really interesting and unique, but they're not original. So you're going to prioritize Alexandrian and Western. That's the trend. Next, you'll prioritize Alexandrian and Byzantine. After that, it's pretty much not original. So that's all external evidence. Next, you need to look at internal evidence. Look at transcriptional considerations. Generally, the more difficult and shorter reading is supposedly the original because scribal tendency was to make smooth and clear. That's not always the case, but generally that's the truth. So take it with a grain of salt. And again, the basic premise to which you will interpret every situation is which variant best accounts for the existence of the others. Okay? Now, that being said, here are some unintentional errors that scribes could do. One would be haplography, where they accidentally omit something. Another one would be didography, the accidental duplication of something. And there's several examples of this. One could be due to confusion due to parablepsis, where you jump over a letter or word or phrase, looking beside one letter or group of letters to another. There's three different kinds. Homoarctone, jumping the beginning. Homomeson, jumping the middle. And homotelevtone, jumping the end. So you could jump around. It's just confusion due to looking beside letters. There could be confusion due to poorly written letters. There could be confusion due to similar sounding words. All of these can result in didography. Those are accidental, incidental. However, there's also intentional transcriptional changes, where the scribe purposefully harmonizes this particular word or phrase or passage to other parallel passages. The scribe could substitute more familiar words, more familiar synonyms for unusual or difficult terms, make it easier to read. The scribe could intentionally alter lexical forms or even syntax to accord with Attic style and make it more proper. You could have the scribe adding things, adding pronouns, adding subjects, adding conjunctions, adding particles. And then you could have the scribe omitting material that was thought to be harsh, contrary to current usage, contrary to current practice, or even doctrinally offensive. They are editors. Okay? Now, what that was intentional transcriptional considerations. The other thing you have to consider are intrinsic considerations. What was the author most likely to have written? How would you even go about that? Well, you'd consider what's the author's vocabulary, what's the author's style, what is their argument they're making, what's their thought, what's their logic, what's the immediate context? Is this passage congruent with the author's other teachings? Is it part of traditional material? When it comes to the Gospels, does it fall in line with Aramaic backgrounds? Because Jesus would have spoke Aramaic. Now, after you've gathered all the data, you've considered the genealogical relationship, you've looked at the geographic attestation, you've looked at dates, you've looked at unintentional, you've looked at intentional scribal errors and changes, you've looked at the intrinsic internal evidence based on the author. You have to come to a decision. And the one core aspect is whichever variant best explains the existence of the others. That's the one that's likely to be original. And so that's the four-step process of textual criticism. We will try and do that today in 1 John 5, to which we will now turn. I'm excited. This is our last chapter, and we are done with Greek. I've already started to write Hebrew lectures for January. It'll be another 27-week program. It'll be 23 weeks of grammar, and then the last 4 will be translating Ruth chapters 1 through 4. So 27-week program. It'll be fun. So 1 John 5, verse 1. Pas o pistevon oti Jesus estin o Christos ektu theou gegenite, ke pas o agaponton genisanta agapa ke ton gegenimenon ex avtu. First off, you see K here. K is in brackets, which means it's hotly attested and debatable as to its textual witnesses. They do not think it's supposed to be there. So we'll take a look at that when we get to it later in this sentence. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ. Has been born of God. He has been. has been born from God. And everyone who loves. Everyone who loves. Ton genisanta agapa. This is interesting. So the NRSV says, and everyone who loves the parent loves the child. And everyone who loves the one having begotten, genao. By exercising the role of a parental figure. Extension of 1a. Became your father as Christians through the gospel. See, this is passive. No, it's not. Everyone who loves the father loves the child. Everyone who loves the father loves the child from him. An interesting way to put it. So K here in brackets. Start breaking it out. Yeah, so let's start with the UBS. I don't have the textual apparatus in my accordance. I didn't pay for that one. It is available in case you want it. Okay. 1 John 5. Okay. So in UBS, they include a ranking system. This one is okay. UBS. It's a C, which is pretty hotly debated. It's either K tone, which is what they have here, as attested by Codex Sinaiticus 69. Although Codex Sinaiticus and 69 have toe, neuter. You have A, 81, 322, 323, 436, 945, 1067, 1175, 1241, 1243, 1292, 1409, 1505, 1611, 1735, 1739, 1844, 1846, 1852, 1881, 2138, 2298, 2344, 2464. Byzantine, which means the majority, which is in Nestle-Aland, it's a italic capital M. In UBS, it's Byzantine. And you have the lectionary. And you have the Vulgate. I forget what CL is. I'll have to look that up. You have the Syriac tradition, Coptic tradition, Armenian tradition, Ethiopian, Slavic, Alexander, I forget what vid means, Cyril, Jerusalem, Hilary, Maximus, Fulgentius, etc. Okay? Now, some just have tone. No K. That's attested in B, C, 048 VID. I think vid means apparently, I can't remember. 33 ITAR, I'll have to look that up, I forget. And L and Q. You do have the Vulgate, but only in WW and ST. You do have some of the Coptic, some of the Georgian, some of Hilary, Augustine, and a few other witnesses. Okay, so that one. So if you go to the back of B, or UBS, you'll be able to look up textual witnesses and stuff. It's before the lexicon. Okay. So, beginning. All right, so A. A is, let's see. Hold the phone. Get what those are. Abbreviations. E is Gospels, A is Acts, C is Catholic or General Epistles, P is Pauline Epistles, R is Revelation. Okay, so this is 5th century. Okay. 81. 1044. So that's old. 322, 15th century. 323, 12th century. 436, 12th century. You can see some of these get really old. 945, 11th century. 1067, 14th century. 1175, 10th century. Was that 1241? 41? 12th century. 1243, 11th century. 1292, 13th century. 1409, 14th century. 1505, 12th century. 1611, 12th century. 1735, 10th century. 1739, 10th century. 1844, interesting, it's not listed in here. 1846, 11th century. 1852, 18th century. 1881, 14th century. 2138, 1072 specifically. 2298, 12th century. 2344, 11th century. 2464, 9th century. So no earlier than 5th century, K-tone is attested. The lectionary. Okay, so the Vulgate. Hold on, Italian. This is Old Latin. AR is 9th century. L is 13th century. Q is 7th century. Vulgate here. CL is, that's the Clementine Vulgate, 1592. W.W. Wordsworth White, that's 1889 to 1954, and the ST Stuttgart Vulgate, 1983. Okay, you got I think Augustine is 4th century, right? Several Coptic. I didn't write them down, but there are several Coptic, and those are 4th, 9th, 4th, 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 4th. Go back and look at that. Okay. Augustine, I think, is 4th century. Okay, so B is 4th century. Right now, the earliest attestation is 4th century. Go back. So we got Vulgate, Clementine, Sirach, P, and H, Coptic, BO, Armenian, Ethiopian, Slavic. Okay. We've got Coptic, SA, BO, MS, Georgian, got Italian, AR, and L. An R. 33. I didn't capture 33 yet. '33 is 9th century. Okay, so the Georgian, this is 5th century. Coptic SA is 4th. BOMS is early as 9th century. Okay. Okay. So is it ketone or is it just simply tone? I don't think you need K. The earliest witness is without it. That's UBS. Let's look at it. Okay. Oh, I forgot to look at Sinaiticus in 69. Also has P. A tone. don't think there's a... Cap my pen here so I don't drop it and break it. I find what I need. Okay, so... Okay, P is listed twice. It's either 6th century or 9th century, depending on what it's containing. Okay, 9th century. Acts, Catholic epistles, all the way through 5:1. Okay. So P is 9th century. Okay. So what about Sinaiticus? 4th century. Okay, so the earliest is 4th century in K-tone and B. Okay. Oh, and 69. 06? No. Okay. Go. 69, 15th century. All right. Let's pull out the book. Again, the question is, does K belong or does it not? And the fundamental argument is which variant best explains the existence of the others. We have 3 variants. We have tone, we have K-tone, and we have K-toe. Earliest attestation of tone, 4th century. Earliest attestation of K-tone, 4th century. Earliest, 5th century actually. Earliest attestation of K-toe, 4th century. So, okay. Six. Looking up Western, Alexandrian, Byzantine. Okay. Western Papyrus 48, Papyrus 38. Alexandrian text. Papyrus 66, Papyrus 75. CL 33. So 33 is Alexandrian. That's Nokai. Including B. Origin. What's my... I had an index. Where is it? Let's see. I had it in my presentation. I'll just pull that up. Okay. So even within Alexandrian, you can see it's divided. You've got half of it with K-tone, half of it with tone. Okay. You got witnesses in Alexandria. Interesting. I think Origin covered. Origin's not in either one. I thought I read it earlier. Okay. Oh, I read it in my presentation, not in this. We got Alexandrian. Okay. We have majority Western text is K-tone. A is Byzantine. Alexandrian, K-to, but we also have tone. Okay. Let's see what on the one hand, the absence of K in B, C, 048, 3362, etc. may be the result of accidental oversight. On the other hand, the presence of K in Codex Sinaiticus, A, K, P, 049, 81, etc., most minuscules, etc., may well be a scribal emendation suggested by the similar K in the preceding sentence. In order to represent the balance of probabilities, the committee enclosed the word within square brackets. So they're saying they kept it because of the previous sentence. In order that the one who loves God also loves his brother. So they're using intrinsic to argue that it should be included. So here's another way of looking at it. You have K tone, 5th century Western Byzantine attestation. You have K toe, 4th century Alexandrian attestation. Both include K. Variance is in the article, tone versus toe. But both include K. But then how do you explain the K falling out from tone? Is it easier to add K to smooth it out? Or is it easier to drop K? I think it makes more sense to add it in to smooth it out and mirror verse 21 of chapter 4. I'm going to exclude it. Scribes added to mirror 1 John 4:21. No K counts for the others. And not other way. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drop K. And everyone who loves the Father loves the child from him. Verse 2. En tuto gnoskomen oti agapomen ta tekna tu theou. Otan ton theon agapomen ke tas entolas avtu piomen. By this, we know that agapomen we love the children of God. When we love God and do his commandments. Verse 3. Avtigar estin I agapi tu theou, inatas entolas avtu tiromen, ke entole avtu barie uk isen. For this is the love of God. That in order that we might keep his commandments. And his commandments, they are not hard. They are not difficult to carry out. Verse 4. Otipan to gegenimenon ektu theou nika ton kosmon, ke afti estin I niki I nikisasa ton kosmon I pistis imon. For every this is neuter. Because everything having been born from God overcomes the world or is victorious. Overcomes the world. And this is the victory and this is the victory that conquers the world. Our faith. I'm going to change conquers to overcomes. Aorist active participle, feminine singular. First John 5. Tis de estin o nikon ton kosmon imi o pistevon, o te Jesus estin o wios tu theou. Okay, so de here is hotly attested. Interesting. UBS doesn't even include the textual variant. It has it in brackets, but it doesn't include it. Interesting. And this is why you need both. So hopefully we get it here. Although I don't know if we will. Assuming we will, though. Okay. De included is attested by okay, so it looks like 2-1. You have Estin Day in B. You have simply just Estin in A, C, majority, Vulgate, and then you have Estin. No, you have rather Day. Estin in Codex Sinaiticus, A, P 0296 33 323 1739, a bunch of others. Okay, so you have 3 readings. You have no day. You have Eston day. And you have day Eston. No day. Eston day. And then day Eston. So we got Alexandrian, Byzantine, who in their right mind would put day 3rd? That doesn't make sense. That be an error? I wonder if it's in the commentary. I doubt it is. It wasn't even included in UBS. Nope, didn't include it at all. Wow. It just completely went over it. We'll get 4th. Yeah, you got early attestation across all 3. So that doesn't help. The majority of the witnesses is going to be with no day. But it doesn't make sense. Why would you put day 3rd? but there's only one witness with that. Dies est in de. Who is the one who conquers the world except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? That could just be a mistake. Est in de. No? Why would they just add it in even mistakenly? And this is why they're bracketed, because it's hard. I'm going to conclude B is correct. Original as they is third, which normally would not occur. So the others drop it or move it. Make it smoother. Can't count or moving it third. So, and we'll change it to but who is the one who overcomes except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of question mark. Verse 6. Outos estin o elthon di idatos ke ematos. Jesus Christos ugento idati monon al ento idati ke ento emati. Keto pneuma estin to martirun, otito pneuma estin I alithia. This is the one who came through water and blood. Jesus Christ. Not only in water, but in water and in blood. And the Spirit is the witness. And the Spirit is the witness. That for the Spirit is verse 7. Oti tres isen e martiruntes. For 3 are the witnesses. Verse 8. To pneuma keto idor keto ema ke tris isto en isen. The Spirit and the water and the blood. And the 3 isto en. And the 3 are in one. Verse 9. Etin martyrion ton anthropon lambanomen, e martyria tu theu mitson estin. Oti avti estin e martyria tu theu oti memar tiriken peri tu viu avtu. Let's see. if we receive the witness of the man, of the men, if we receive the witness of the men, I'll change witness to testimony, of the men, the testimony of God, the testimony of God is greater. For this is the testimony of God that we have borne witness he has. I'm just going to change that to testified. Testified concerning his son. Verse 10. O pistevon iston wion ton theou echi tin martyrion en eavto. Omi pistevon to theo sevstin pepi iken avton. Oti u pepistevken istin martyrion in memartyriken o theos peri tu wiu avtu. The one who believes in the Son of God has the testimony in himself. The one who does not believe that believe in God makes him a liar? Believe in God has made him a liar. For he has not believed in the testimony which God has testified concerning his Son. Verse 11. Και αυτοί εστιν η μαρτυρία, ότι ζωήν αιώνιον εδώκεν ημίν ο Θεός, και αυτή η ζωή εν το βίο αυτού εστιν. And this is the testimony that God gave eternal life to us. God gave eternal life to us. And this life is in his Son. This life is in his Son. Verse 12. O echon ton wion echi tin zoin. O mi echon ton wion tu theu tin zoin uk echi. The one who has the Son has life. The one who does not have the Son of God does not have life. Verse 13. Tafta grapsa imin, ina idite oti zoin echete eonion, tis pistevusin isto onoma tu wiu tu theu. I write these things to you in order that you might know, that you have eternal life. Those who believe in the name of the Son of God. Dative plural. You who believe in the name of the Son of God. Verse 14. Και αυτή εστιν η παρisia in echomen pros αυτόν, ότι εάν τι ετομέθα κατά το θέλημα αυτού ακούει ημών. And this is the boldness which we have towards him. That if anyone asks, not anyone, it's anything. If we might ask anything according to his will, then he hears us. Ke eon idamen oti akui imon o eon etometha idamen oti echomen ta etimata a eti kamen ap avtu. And if we know, is subjunctive? No. It's not. Interesting. If we know that he hears us, whatever we might ask, we know that we have ta etimata, the requests which we have asked from him. We know we have the requests which we have asked from. Interesting. This is aeon with indicative. I want to look that up. That's interesting. First class okay. Can't be third class condition because it's not subjunctive. Or maybe it is. Yeah, but what do you do when it's aeon plus indicative? Interesting. It doesn't have anything for it. Present indicative. As a conjunction, marker of condition with probability of activity expressed in the verb left open and thereby suited especially for generalized statements. And can be used with the present indicative. Interesting. I'd like to see a commentary on that, but I'm going to move on. Okay, verse 16. Ean tis ed, ton adelphon avtu amartanonta, amartian mi pros thanaton, et tisi ke dosi avto zoin, tis amartanusin mi pros thanaton, esten amartia pros thanaton, u peri ekinis lego ina erotisi. It's a long one. If anyone might see, if anyone might see his brother sinning a sin committing a sin not towards death, not towards death, future active indicative. He will ask, and he will give him life. To those who commit sin, not death. There is a sin towards death. I do not speak concerning that. Not speak concerning that. ROTC. I do not speak concerning that. In order that he might pray concerning. I do not speak. Interesting. I don't think speak is quite right here. I do not recommend that anyone should pray about that. There is a sin towards death. I do not recommend that anyone should pray concerning that. Hasa adikia amartia estin, ke estin amartia u pros thanaton. every unrighteous thing is sin. And it is sin, not towards death. (18) We know that everyone who has been born from God does not third singular present active indicative is not sinning. Does not sin. But the one who was born from God, Jesus, keeps him and preserves him, which is to say protects him, and the evil one does not touch him. Did I read this one? Idamen oti pas o gegeni menos ektu theu uk amartani, allo genithis ektu theu tiri avton, keo poniros uk aptete avtu. Verse 19. Idamen oti ektu theu esmen ke o kosmos olos en to poniro kite. We know that we are from God, and the whole world is in the evil one. Boy, the NRSV took a lot of liberties there. We know that we are God's children. That's not there. And that the whole world lies under the power of the evil one. That's not there. Idemende oti ovios tu theu iki ke dedoken imin dienion ina ginoskomen ton alithinon kesmen ento alithino ento vio avtu Jesu Christo utos estin o alithinos theos ke zoe aeonios. And we know that the Son of God, Iki, has come. And he has given to us dianion, understanding. In order that ginoskomen, we might know the truth. And we are in the truth. And we are in the true one. In his Son, Jesus, Jesu Christo. Utos estin o alithinos. This is the true one. Oh, this is the true God and eternal life. This one is the true God and eternal life. Verse 21. Children, teknia, philaxate eavta apoton idolon. Children. Guard keep yourselves from idols. Wow. Okay. So that is the end of 1 John chapter 5. Let's read it back. Everyone who believes that Jesus is the Christ, he has been born from God, and everyone who loves the Father loves the child from him. By this, we know that we love the children of God, when we love God and do his commandments. For this is the love of God, that we might keep his commandments, and his commandments are not difficult to carry out, because everything, having been born from God, overcomes the world. And this is the victory that overcomes the world, our faith. This is the one who came through water and blood. But who is the one who overcomes except the one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God? This is the one who came through water and blood, Jesus Christ, not only in water, but in water and in blood. And the Spirit is the witness, but the Spirit is truth. For these are the witnesses, the Spirit and the water and the blood, and these three are one. If we receive the testimony of men, the testimony of God is greater. For this is the testimony of God, that he has testified concerning his Son. The one who believes in the Son of God has the testimony in himself. The one who does not believe in God has made him a liar, for he has not believed in the testimony which God has testified concerning his Son. And this is the testimony, that God gave eternal life to us, and this life is in his Son. The one who has the Son has life. The one who does not have the Son of God does not have life. I write these things to you in order that you might know that you have eternal life, who believe in the name of the Son of God. And this is the boldness which we have towards him, that if we might ask anything according to his will, then he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we might ask, we know that we have the request which we have asked from him. And if anyone might see his brother committing a sin not towards death, he will ask, and he will give him life to those who commit sin not towards death. There is a sin towards death. I do not recommend that anyone should pray concerning that. Every unrighteous thing is sin, and it is sin, not towards death. We know that everyone who has been born from God does not sin, but the one who has been born from God preserves him, and the evil one does not touch him. We know that we are from God, and the whole world is in the evil one. And we know that the Son of God has come, and he has given to us understanding in order that we might know the truth. And we are in the true one, in his Son, Jesus Christ. This one is the true God and eternal life. Children, keep yourselves from idols. And that's the end of 1 John chapter 5. We have just spent 27 weeks. We started the first week of January. And here we are into the, second week of June? Or July? What a trip. We have learned the basics of beginning biblical Greek. Now that's a different kind of Greek than, say, the Greek of Aristotle, the Greek of Homer, the Greek of the Iliad, okay? It is Kene Greek, the commoner's Greek, the simple Greek, post-Hellenism, the Greek of the New Testament, the Greek of the first century. Okay? It is the commoner's tongue, the lingua franca of the day. We have learned it. We've learned the basics. We have learned the alphabet. We've learned nouns. We've learned adjectives. We've learned adverbs. We've learned verbs. We've learned indicative mood and subjunctive mood and imperative mood. We've learned participles and infinitives. We've learned so much. We've learned some basics of grammar and syntax. We've learned conditional statements. We have learned how the dative works, the genitive works. We've learned how the nominative works, the accusative works. We've learned specific kinds of phrases, like in the genitive absolute participial phrase. We've learned specific conjunctions. We have learned so much. If you've been following with the the vocabulary, either in the Blue Hymnal or in my Greek word of the day, you have been learning vocabulary to help you sight read the New Testament. It only takes roughly 300 words to give you a commanding understanding of roughly 75% of the New Testament. And so I encourage you, now that you've come this far, don't stop there. Keep going. Keep learning the vocabulary. Get to over 300 words. And then practice. Keep translating. Don't stop with 1 John. Go into 2 John. Go into 3 John. Go into Revelation. It's exciting. Go into Paul. Go into the Gospels. Have fun with it. If you're adventurous, go into the Septuagint. Yes, the Old Testament. Have fun reading the Bible for all it's worth using the original language, because there are things here you cannot get in English, because the Bible wasn't written in English. It was written in Greek. It was also written in Hebrew. And so I will be doing the Hebrew counterpart to this series starting in January. It'll be another 27-week series. So I will see you at the beginning of January to start our first Hebrew lecture. Okay, we'll follow the same format. We'll follow the Zondervan series, the basics of beginning biblical Hebrew. I find personally Hebrew's easier. Not everyone agrees. That's okay. I think that's a matter of personal preference. We're all at different walks of life in terms of language studies. And so you might find Hebrew to be extremely challenging. It reads right to left. The language is totally different from Greek, and therefore it is completely different from English. There is no similarities whatsoever. And it can be quite challenging and quite daunting. But you know what? If you stick with it, you watch first of all, you got to read the content in the grammar. Second of all, follow the lecture. And third, practice. Practice the workbook. If you do that, you'll be able to stick with it. You'll be able to pick it up. Diligence will be key. Determination will be key. But you got to practice. You got to review. And then, once you've done that, you'll have picked up Hebrew as well. And between Greek and Hebrew, you've got the majority of the Bible covered. There's a little bit of Aramaic you'll need to be able to work through, like in Daniel. But if you can work through Hebrew, you really can work through the Aramaic. Excuse me. So that's it. How exciting. Where do we go from here? So throughout the rest of the year, I'm going to be translating a little bit of Greek, a little bit of Hebrew, just kind of going back and forth. The sessions won't be nearly as long, maybe an hour tops, which is what I was doing before I started the Greek lectures. Okay, so I'm going to return to form doing that. So please join me. Apply what you've learned. Come and ask questions. Practice. And practice. The important thing is you've worked hard to acquire this knowledge of Greek. Don't lose it. You got to use it. Okay? You can take it a step further and start learning modern Greek pronunciation and language, vocabulary, and try and build your knowledge from there. But just use it. That's all I ask. Nike, just do it. It also means victory. You have overcome. And so congratulations. I hope it feels good. Pat yourself on the back, but get ready for Hebrew. It's coming around the corner. So we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Take care. And that's it. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.